up to the boys. Fox and Shane, set your minds free, no locks and chains. Do what you love, roll the dice. 50-50, we cold as ice. One thing cold, but a pretty turn red. Can't let that go down in my head, wargaming.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Hobby Homies. We are your weekly tabletop podcast. I am Shane. I'm hanging out with Fox.
Howdy.
And, of course, we've got Churchy.
Howdy, howdy.
And we have a guest with us tonight. We have Jack from Battlemaps.
How you doing?
Today we'll be talking a little bit about the maps that he creates and also what it's like to turn your hobby into a business, whether it be a business on the side or maybe something full-time.
Yeah, but before we get into all that, we want to know about you, Jack, as a wargamer, as a hobbyist. I want to know what got you into wargaming, how long you've been doing it, what games are you currently working on, all of that.
All of that?
Everything.
Yeah.
I started wargaming when I was 11 years old, or thereabouts,
Wow.
back in boarding school in the UK. As one does, you've got nothing else to do, so might as well build a whole bunch of miniatures and try and paint them and then literally fight each other with them. So
Excellent.
yeah, that was the way to go. I did a big pause after school. Obviously, life kicked in, job, family, all that sort of stuff. Picked it up again about a year before COVID.
Sure.
As most people did, I assume, like during the COVID time, a lot of people picked up the hobby.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really got back into it, but I got back into it in a lot more detail, like really pushing hard on the painting, pushing hard on actually the building and customizing and doing stuff how I want to do it and not how the box says. So yeah,
That's the beauty of it too, is like you really can, like, sure, there's instructions, but when it comes to especially painting it, it's everything's at your own leisure. You can do it however you like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was the first game that you and your 11-year-old mates were playing in the boarding school?
We played, so being British, obviously Games Workshop was really the main company. So
Yep.
it was 40k at that time. I don't know, I can't remember what edition, second or third. I think I played Orcs, someone else played Space Marines. You had two choices really.
Sure.
Like
Wow.
Eldar came out and then that was another choice. So
Yeah.
they were pretty much the games we were playing at the time as a kid. Not so much with the board games, but like mainly the tabletop stuff really.
Yeah. That would be so cool. I'm just trying to imagine what growing up playing Warhammer would look like, less alone in the UK where it's
The
probably...
home of wargaming.
Yeah.
It was a lot more like one thick coat, like
Yeah.
a lot of like messy models. But I guess as a kid, you didn't really care because
Yeah.
everything looked cool,
Yeah.
no matter how crap it looked.
Yeah.
And you guys were probably all just about playing the game at that stage.
And it was at a price point where you could afford it as well. So
Yeah,
it was good. Like, and I think the amazing model of the time was when the Lehman Russ came out. Like that was like, oh wow, this is incredible. Yeah, like that was like like top of the line. Like it was awesome. Like that was it was good.
Is that same Lehman Russ that's...
It's the same one that's probably out now. Yeah, like it hasn't changed, and it's good. It's iconic. So
It's easy to romanticize something like that, where it's like you're at boarding school, like it's like there with your mates, like all the time. You know, being able to play games whenever you haven't got classes and stuff like that. Like that. That sounds awesome. But like, what? So, are your parents from the UK or?
Mum's British, dad's Kiwi.
Yeah.
We lived in the UK until I was about 19, 20 years old.
Yep.
And we moved back to NZ with the family, and then we stayed there for a couple of years. I met my missus, and then
Yep.
got roped to come over here, which is good. And then been here since. I've been here about 11 years now.
Yeah, nice.
So yeah.
Beautiful.
So I just want to flash back to this time because me and Shane are relatively new wargamers. So the idea of doing it X amount of years ago. Do you recall when you were 11 years old playing with your mates? Were you able to afford like a full proper army?
And back then there wasn't like. Well, there probably was, but not to us. There
Sure.
wasn't 2,000 point armies. There wasn't 3,000 point armies.
Yeah.
There was like, I have this squad and then this heavy vehicle, and we'll make up our own rules and play it.
Yeah.
Like there was no like I don't think we ever used the rule book once really. Like we got
Yeah.
the gist of the game, and then there was just like I've moved 12 inches that way and hide behind a building and then shoot over the wall or something. Like it's just like it was just you make your own rules and you have your own fun with it. Like it was. I don't remember as that age actually playing a proper game. You went into the Games Workshop stores, which were really. They haven't changed at all since they are now. They're a bit more modern, but they're the same principle is the same. The company has stayed the same all these years. But you used to go in the stores and then you would do like a store game maybe, and like you'd participate. But back then, being kids, you'd have very small collections. Like I had maybe 10 or 12 models, and then maybe one or two of the like tanks and stuff. Yeah. And you don't buy all your stuff new. You bought a lot of stuff like secondhand and stuff.
Right, okay. I couldn't imagine a second-hand market around before Facebook, Obviously there was. Of course there was.
Yeah.
Newspapers and stuff like that, magazines.
It was like Trading Post and, it was more community than... Well, it's probably about the same now as well.
Imagine a time without Marketplace.
Yeah, no.
Or just
the Marketplace was a marketplace. We actually, no joke, we used to live in a place called St Albans, not here, but in the UK, and they had what they call car boot sales there. Yeah. So we used to go every Sunday morning to the car boot sales, and there'd be like maybe 600 or 700 cars in these car boot sales with literally their boots open selling stuff. Wow. So that's where you would buy most of your models from.
Oh, that sounds
so did you know, was there like regular dudes there, like with their, or would you just scan 600?
You just scan 600 cars.
Like,
that's your Sunday. You go around and go, oh, he's got something, and then you'd buy it for like a couple of pounds or whatever you could afford, really.
Yeah, that's so cool. Did Games Workshop, again, we'll get out of this vein. I'm trapped in your boarding school days. I'm living vicariously through you. Did Games Workshop ever have their own secondhand things that they did in store? I remember people talking about this, that they went in and bought like secondhand armies or something.
They did, at least the local store we had, they did buy stuff from players and then move it on at that time. They didn't do much of it. I think it was more of each store did their own thing for that.
Their own discretion.
Their own discretion. Yeah, sure. Whereas you went in there, they would obviously promote all their packeted products. Mm-hmm. And back then, it's probably still the same now, but back then they also had painting tables and getting people into it. It was a, I don't know if it was starting up then or if it's been out for a while, but it was a good culture, going there. You felt like you were part of the community going there. Yeah. I know there's a little bit of vibe now that they're not so inviting, but they're still promoting the product, and it's still probably it's the biggest tabletop product out there. You can't deny that.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, that's okay. I'm ready to leave.
Leave boarding school.
Time, isn't it?
Go to uni, get drunk, and then
yeah, that's it. And so you came back, and did you come back to 40k? What's your hobby look now compared to that?
It's changed a bit. Actually, it's changed quite vastly. I did originally come back to 40k. I came back to what I knew. When I came back into it 3 or 4 years ago, my first thought was I'll develop my own custom army, and I did all the iconography and custom shoulder pads and all that sort of stuff. So it was just like a custom Chaos Space Marine army, and that was good for a while. But what I've moved on now is I've moved into AOS. So AOS I'm playing quite a bit of, and then more recently Legion as well. Star Wars Legion has really taken a bigger turn with me. Mainly because of the game style. It's just, I love the alternating actions and the playability of it. So that's definitely picked up on me. And there's a few others I'm looking at, but I'm sticking with AOS and Legion for now. Cool. We'll see where it goes from there. So
AOS has been sort of an elusive one for us. We've both been we've both got armies for it. We've both had bought and sold armies for it. And it's been let's play. And then it's just no.
Yeah.
We're just everything always G'd up, making lists even and stuff, and then it's just what about this one? And we play something else, and
it always comes second place to something. It's one of those games. Yeah. I don't know why, because we constantly say it has probably the most beautiful models of any
out of all the GW stuff, especially.
Yeah, it does, and that'll be the kind of theme it's in. It's gonna be more dynamic, more natural, more really weird models, whereas 40k is in a more futuristic universe. You're going to see sharper edges and more armor and more plating and stuff like that. So AOS does have some beautiful models, and the playing it as well, the actual AOS game is quite smooth. There's less to think about, and that's what turned me off a little bit on 40k. You've really got to dedicate 3 hours of your time to set up your army and set up your stratagems and set up your CP points, all that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. Whereas AOS, I can rock up in my local shop with my 1,000-point army, and literally just put the book down and play.
Yeah.
Like, everyone knows what rules everyone has, and you just play it.
Yeah.
So it does have that benefit going for it, and hopefully the Games Workshop stick with that style because it works.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the few times we have played it. We're like, it feels like it almost felt like we were forgetting rules.
Yeah, are we
which probably
doing this wrong?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it was just
yeah.
it was so streamlined.
Yeah.
I remember going, whoa, wait. I don't have to calculate anything. It just tells me what I worked on. I don't understand. I'm missing something.
Yeah.
What is your Age of Sigma army?
So there's a few,
Excellent.
as one does.
Of course.
I've got a small Fire Slayer army,
Nice.
which is
Okay.
getting up to 2,000 points, but it's just over 1,000 at the moment. I've got a not small physically, but a small Beastclaw Raiders army.
Sweet.
So it's just
That's very
Mornfangs and Stonehorns. It's
Very
just
cool
the
models.
big beasty boys.
Yeah.
Mammoths.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And I love it because it's just 2-star collecting boxes and that's almost 2,000 points. So
Beautiful.
money wise, that is the best thing. Yeah.
Write that down.
Yeah.
Genius.
Like it's great. And just started a Seraphon army.
Cool.
So I love dinosaurs. So
Yeah.
dinosaurs that kill people is awesome. So
Yeah.
Who would want anything more? You've got
I've got a
Seraphon.
small Seraphon army. I sold a bit of it.
Yeah.
So it just wasn't getting an Age of Sigma. But I got a little one.
yeah, it's a bit hard. The Stegodons have been out of stock in Australia or worldwide for forever. So it's whether if Games Workshops maybe they're bringing more models out.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
never know. But
New kits or something.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Age of Sigmar, we've looked at one-page rules a lot for their Grimdark Future and their Age of Fantasy, sort of, which is the 40k and the Age of Sigmar-esque style, I guess you could call it, which has been very appealing. I've got a bunch of Stormcasts that are painted up, doing nothing, itching to get on the table.
They are itching. Every time I walk up, when we used to walk upstairs to the other studio, I would see his painted collection, and I was like, this was painted to play against me. And I never painted my Skaven to match it, so it just sits there as Shane's many hours of useless work
Many.
taunting me. So you might have to play against Shane, so I don't feel so guilty.
that was one of the things I love about this hobby. Like, it doesn't matter even if you don't play it. You've got it. It's physical. It's there. You can put it on the shelf. It can be a collection.
Yeah.
Like one of my previous hobbies before this, I used to fly big radio control models. Like we're talking 3 meter, 120 cc, sort of like combat, like aerial combat sort of stuff.
And you flew them in the sky.
Yeah. So big sort of planes, IMAX
My
sort of
lord.
planes.
My brother does that too. He's got a 1/3 scale plane, I think.
Yeah,
It's
it's
massive.
great. And you would dump maybe $5,000 or $10,000 in your plane, right?
Wow.
So if something goes wrong, a servo breaks or something electronically goes wrong and that crashes, you could be a $2,000 loss.
Yeah, wow.
And a few crashes for me, and I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't want to scale back. Once you get to that level, you don't want to just go buy a foam plane and fly in the park. You still, like
Make
you-
paper planes.
once you're flying something that's like loud and noisy and 3 meters big, you don't want to go smaller. Like it's so I had to make the decision. I cut that out of my life because I can't afford it. Maybe when I'm retired and I've got a bit of money in the bank, maybe. But it's nice. It doesn't the product's expensive. Like you can go out and maybe buy a start collecting box or buy a starting kit, and you're like, okay, cool, that's $200. But that's $200 of product you will never devalue.
Yeah.
It'll always be there for you.
Yeah.
And to be honest, if you think about hours of playability, putting it together, painting it, and playing with it, you could be looking at 300-400 hours of playability.
Yeah.
That's more than PC games.
A lot, exactly. It comes down to like if you could almost assign a dollar value to every hour of entertainment you get out of something, right? Like a good video game, if you get like $1 per hour out of it,
It's a good game.
it's a good game.
Yeah.
With these, like you're making money hand over fist, really. Like
In comparison,
in
yeah,
comparison, yeah.
That's right. You can't afford not to play.
Exactly. You're
war
losing
games.
money if you don't play.
Yeah. You can tell
you
them,
are.
clip that, send that to your wife. Not this part.
Yeah.
That's irrelevant. Wife, or I forget we have multiple viewers. We have more than 2 viewers, so
Or your husband.
wife's husband, partners.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Significant others.
Don't clip any of this, actually. Just clip that little part. Don't clip any. Don't waste your time.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, I'm curious of all, like, how did Battlemaps happen? Like, how did it culminate to you pulling the trigger and going, I want to take what I'm doing, my hobby, to this?
Yeah, that's a hard question. I don't really honestly know what the switch was to go from what was really a conceptual design to becoming a product that we sold.
Sure.
I guess I was playing at Guff one day, having a good chat with the owner.
Yep.
And we were on good friendly terms. We're talking about like sort of margins and stuff on the products they have to bring in, because Australia's hard. You need to import product.
It's so far away.
It's so far
Yeah.
away. It's so expensive.
Yeah.
And so let's say and we're talking about mats as well. And the only way he could get mats was from overseas, like from the US or Europe that had the stock and had the designs.
Yeah.
And by the time he got them in and to his shop, he maybe makes $5 on a mat.
Yeah.
Like $5. And you can't run
not
a
enough to
brick
keep
and
the
mortar
lights on.
Australian store and keep the lights on.
Yeah.
And he's providing play spaces and all this for people and promoting the hobby.
Yeah.
I was like, I've worked in freight forwarding for 13 years before my current job.
Yeah.
I've got to be able to do something better.
Yeah.
So that's what started the whole ball rolling.
Sure.
What can we do? And then it was 12 to 14 months of research.
Wow.
So that's probably the one takeaway from this. If you really want to do it, spend the time researching.
Do your homework.
I spent
Yeah.
4 months looking for the right factory to produce the products. I
Yeah.
spent 4 months finding the right graphic designer who had the right vision to
Yeah.
do the product properly. We did at least 2 to 3 months of just testing, just random stuff, random materials, whether we're going to go with a natural rubber or a synthetic rubber or a textile rubber, or are we going to go single laminate, double laminate. Like there's so many different factors involved. Like you can go online and you can find a random person and he'll say, oh, I'll make you mats.
Yeah.
But it could end up, it'll end up not how you want it. And like going from an idea to a product, it takes time. Like it's a good year to a year and a half of testing and getting it right.
Talking about all that, you've definitely done your research because you've kindly given us these mats. We'll let everyone know that now. These are for future battle reports that are coming soon. Massive thank you to Jack for them. But you were so confident in there that you cracked open this bottle of water and you tipped it on the...
Yeah.
Fox and I both were like, what?
I was trying to shield the mat that you sold us. No, don't pour water on your own mat. It was crazy. Yeah.
Water resistant. Like it just bubbled, like looking like something out of a bug's life. Like
I'm embarrassed to say I drank it. I drank the bead of water.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was one of the products that we wanted as a store.
Yeah.
Because we're talking with the guff and the store owner, and we're like, well, you're going to put it on your tables.
Yeah.
You've got random
There's
people
gonna
coming
be
in.
spillages
You got people going to have, like a Pepsi or a drink or a beer or something and want to play.
Yeah.
And they're going to have spills. They're going to knock over water. They're going to knock over stuff from that. And you want the mat to last. You don't want to buy a product and then go, oh, I've got to throw it away next year because it looks horrible.
Stained
Yeah.
Yeah. The print as well.
So you would say I guess the thing that made you decide to go this avenue, because when you're trying to convert your hobby into a business, we've seen so many different ways of doing it. We've got friends that ran their own stores online. We've got friends that started their own printing business, is a massive one.
Yep.
I thought about doing it many times.
Yeah.
And like you almost can pick your poison and pick your passion. But yours feels like it came out of just like a need, like your local store. Because we've talked about this actually a few times, where like mats in Australia are so expensive and hard to get, like kind of like unique ones as well.
Well, I started at the right time. And that is something that someone would have to decide. Like if they want to convert their hobby into a business, you've got to really run the numbers and go, will it work? This is not my bread and butter. This does not turn the lights on in my house.
Yeah.
But this will fund my hobby, and this
Yeah.
will fund future mats and future hobby. And I don't know, if we have kids eventually, maybe buy hobby stuff for my kids. And it's at that level at the moment, which is great. But people really have to make a decision if they're going to turn their hobby into a business. Do you have enough niche? Is there any current demand at the moment? Can you supply? Like, I mean, and are you going to make enough off that supply to make it a business? Or, are you going to do what I did, where this started out as something on the side, but on the side enough where I will still have an active part of it.
Yeah.
It still pushes as a business, and we turn over enough product to sell it as a business, but it's not something that I will spend every day working on. It's something that I'll come home, maybe spend an hour here, an hour there, working on, whether it's new designs or talking with the shops and finding out what sizes they want and stuff like that. And being very careful how you promote yourself. So we haven't promoted ourselves at all. This is all word of mouth. I have tried my best not to actively promote, because if you get too big for yourself, you can't offer the customer service. You can't.
Yeah.
Someone might go, "Oh, I want to buy 200 mats." Oh, well, I don't have 200 mats.
Yeah.
I can give you 50.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not a good sign, because then they won't come back, and then your
Sure.
your business might flop because
There's
of
a
it.
chance
So-
of getting like top heavy there as well, and you know, expecting to be able to cater for that 200. Like if you could do that one time, and then they tell their friend who owns a store, and they place that order as well, and then it's just
Yeah, exactly. And
post.
look, I mean, we've definitely ramped up. The first shipment that we had, it was 3.6 cubic meters roughly in size. This year we were at 7.9, 1.7 ton of mats that we produced.
That feels like a
So
lot of mats. I don't
that's-
know meters or measurements.
But yeah, 1.7 ton of mats, so
Yeah.
1,700 kilos of mats.
That's
like
a
a
lot of
So
mats.
it's
you
like
know,
a car pretty much.
putting them in my
car of mats.
in the workshop and loading them up. That was a lot of work. It was a good day's work. It was a good workout.
That's your workout for the year.
Yeah,
Done.
that done. yeah, no more.
Had to buy some new shirts, guns.
But yeah, no, and it will ramp up. And you know, understanding your limitations is big. You know,
sure.
I'm only one person. If this gets bigger, we may have to look at getting someone in to help. You know, and that's.
I'm in, dude. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Put me in the factory. I'll be like, that's a mat.
Yeah.
That's a mat. That's a squirrel. That's a mat. That's my strength. Identifying the
Identifying the
difference
mats,
between squirrels
yeah,
and
yeah,
mats.
Hey, that's half the job.
If you need that, I'm there. But if you need someone that is competent, I don't know. Maybe find someone else.
It sounds like you know, leading up to the process, even before you clicked that first order, you must have spent just countless hours of doing research and you know, going over designs and dealing with different suppliers and different clients, or you know, designers and everything like that. Like,
Well, we knew there was a demand, but I didn't want to supply an inferior product, because then you just get the senses of, well, what's the point? I might as well go still continue buying overseas and get a better product.
Yeah.
So we wanted the best product we could make, but we also wanted the best product we can make that is sold to stores at a price that they can make money off.
Yeah.
So our business motto is that we will only sell to Australian brick and mortar stores.
Yep.
So not online only retailers, not, you know, eBay sellers or Facebook sellers. You have to own and run a brick and mortar Australian store, and it's got to be either dedicated for the hobby. So like for this particular hobby, it's going to be dedicated to it, or it's got to offer a play space for people to play. So it's promoting the hobby.
Awesome.
So you're not there as a target of hobby stores. There are a few out there that you probably know of.
Yeah.
But you're there as a promoter of the hobby. The actual people who run the store love the hobby. They love what they do, and I want to help them out. I want to, you know, get the product in there at a price that they can make money off, but also at a price that the customer is happy to pay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the customer comes in and goes, I can get an awesome mat at an awesome price. You know, it's designed by someone in Australia. It's organised and produced by someone in Australia. It's in an Australian store, and the
Awesome.
store is still making money.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's, you know, it's a very rare thing to see nowadays, which is, you know, it's hard.
Yeah. And it's all about building that community as well, like encouraging, you know, those play spaces and everything. Like the first time I saw one of your mats was in Guff in Werribee, on a little tournament that Wolfie organised. And like just looking at it, like I think maybe, I don't know, he walked around and he gave us all a couple of your dice as well, which was sick. But like, and so having it there, that local, like exactly like you said, you know, designed here and you know, made for our stores, it's so awesome to see.
I have I guess a sidestep question. I'm curious do you feel like this business has enhanced your hobby or detracted from it, or is completely separate to it?
I've actually been asked that before as well. Like, because a lot of people fear that if they turn a hobby into a business, you get sour about your hobby.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I considered that really hard before doing it, because that's happened to me before. So I used to run a laser engraving business,
Right.
and I used to enjoy doing that sort of side of things for myself,
Sure.
like the more kind of like do-it-yourself laser stuff. So
Yep.
I ended up turning it into a business, buying a proper machine, but then I got sour about the whole thing.
Wow.
And that was because I devoted my whole time into it,
Right.
like all my time into it. With this, I tried my best to define myself with a particular product. So tabletop mats, that's it.
Yeah.
don't diversify, don't start printing models and selling models or
Yep.
making trays and selling trays. And I've been tempted.
Yeah.
I've done the research and I've looked into it. Like
easy to slip into
like
that
dice
next vein.
trays and all that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. I've been looking at it, but
Yeah.
then I know in my heart I just want to stick with one product,
Yep.
and that has really helped keep the passion alive as well. And because it's not the product that I personally am making or building or painting,
Yeah.
like it doesn't really detract from my hobby.
Yeah.
If anything, I now have 8-12 mats at home for myself to play on. Like it's like that's my, it's made it better
Yeah.
in a way. So
Yeah.
like it's good, and it's also given me a bit more enthusiasm to do my actual physical hobby, because I'm like, oh, I love this mat, I want to do now another army that'll work well on that mat.
Yeah.
Like and then it's like, oh, but then this army doesn't fit on my mats, I have to make a mat for that army. like like
That's awesome.
that's like this got to do that one next. Like, so it's actually good. Like it's actually helped both sides.
I'm gonna from now on, when we're playing on one of these mats, imagine that we're playing on a mat that was solely made because you had an army.
They put it on.
I wonder what Jack was playing when he designed this mat. What is your favorite mat that you guys have done so far?
That's a hard one.
Because you've got eight designs now.
We've got 8 designs.
Yeah.
Our designs are limited.
Yeah.
So the first 4 designs we did,
Yep.
they're now fully sold out. We won't do them again.
Yeah, right.
Purely because I don't have the space or the money
Yeah.
to keep doing every
Yeah.
design.
Yeah.
I then put up with a factory with 100 different
it's like
designs.
renting a shed.
It's like,
Yeah.
So, but a little side benefit to that is it makes it a little bit more niche.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if someone goes, oh, how do you get that one? They can't anymore. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This one here, bro.
Yeah.
This one?
No,
Okay,
I can't get it anymore.
Means I can't get the swamp one.
I'll buy this off you. Wait, we
Yeah.
can't get the swamp one?
No,
We're gonna have to figure something out.
that's right.
Do you know anyone who's sort of like maybe frail or quite weak that has the swamp one? Because I can get Churchy onto him. He's practicing his punch game.
I think my favourite one is probably the city landscape from this year. It just, I'm a sci-fi guy, so
Sure.
I love this sort of like modern, like you can do modern stuff on here. You could even potentially do maybe like World War sort of stuff on here. Obviously not like old era, but it's got a nice range to it. So for the sci-fi side, definitely the cityscape is my favourite. For the more fantasy style, I think my favourite is probably the snow map that we have, the tundra.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
got the ice river through the centre.
Yep.
But probably closely followed by our forest map.
Yeah.
And I've only like seen the actual physical maps like a little bit, like not as much as I want, but
Yeah.
there's so much color variation. We've got
Yeah.
pinks and greens and blues and yellows and little bits of hidden red, and just there's so much you can do with that. Like it's bonkers. Like
Yeah.
it's awesome. Like, and that's probably my favorite out of the fantasy style maps.
Yeah, it's funny because that one, when I first saw it, I was thinking about, for some reason, like one of the one-page rules armies I'm printing, and I was like, it'd be really cool, almost like Alien Planet as
Yeah.
well. The pink shrooms
Oh,
and some
yeah,
of these
that
like
works,
this
definitely.
old and I was and
Yep.
so when I first saw it, I was like sci-fi, but then I was like, oh, it'd be perfect for five leagues.
Yeah.
So it is
Yeah.
cool that you can use it for both, as you can with like most of them as well.
And that's the thing. Like, I mean, most of these mats are going to have terrain on them, and that would change the whole mat itself.
Yeah.
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 Like, and we were saying before, like the first 4 designs we did, we went down a very different path to what normal mats look like.
Yeah.
So the first 4 designs we did were all designed in 3D. So every single design had geometry. The desert map was 60 meters high from top to bottom. It had canyons and like the ice river on the tundra map was like a good 1 meter drop on the edges and all, like, and it had physical dimensions, and it was textured physically, and it was light mapped in 3D, and then
Wow.
and then rendered as the light map was done. It's very unique. It hasn't been done before that I've seen. It hasn't been done before. It creates a very realistic map.
Yep.
We did find though that with some of the customers and some of the shops, they found that placing terrain on it kind of either reduced that effect,
Sure.
Yeah.
or kind of overtopped it.
Yeah.
So it's
Sure.
like it felt almost too much.
Yeah.
So obviously this year we've gone with the more generic, I wouldn't say generic, but the more flatter
Yeah.
style where there is less geometry physically in it.
Sure.
But it still has, you've still got ruts here and there and craters and stuff, but it's not so much of a change that you don't feel like you're falling into the map.
Yeah.
Which is good. It's probably not as great for photos, but it's a lot better for adding your terrain on, and you're adding the geometry to it.
Sure.
So,
I'm a big fan of this city map because, unlike most, it is not as far ruined as a lot of them are. I like it's great because there's a lot of character there, like the exposed pipes and the manhole covers and everything like that, and the cracks and the craters. But some of them are like, just look like they've been blown to shit. This is still very much intact.
Yeah.
Which I love. I love the idea. I love it. It doesn't have to be an absolute bomb site. It can still be somewhat, together.
Yeah. And we did, when we talked, so the designer for this year is Australian designer.
Yep.
We wanted to keep it all in Australia as much as possible.
Yeah.
Like, if I had $1 million, I would buy the equipment and have a factory in Australia.
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah.
that I don't. So apart from that, everything is as close to Australian as we can get.
Yeah.
So the Australian designer, like we sat down and we had a good chat about it, and we wanted to try and keep this kind of like concrete block style,
Yep.
like in there. Because a lot of games also like that, because it's kind of like Division for where they've got pieces, and it gives a bit of like where you can plonk down terrain and a bit of like geometry to it, which is nice.
Yeah.
And I agree, some of those mats that you see where they've got cityscapes, but they say crumbled RuneScape, but it's really just the same crumbled rock spread over the whole map, and it's just like I don't really know if that was a city or not. It just looks like looks like gravel. Like, it's just like, they might have like a bit of road here, and then it's just gravel.
Yeah.
So, but no, we wanted something that you could, if you want to drive a car down the road, like it's got a bit of, you can put buildings on it, and it feels like it's still a workable city. It's just a little bit broken. It's like Adelaide.
It's like Adelaide. Wait, we have 2 Adelaide listeners. You can't say that. Cut that out, Churchy.
Beat that.
Beat that.
It's like Tasmania.
That's right. We've got no Tasmanian listeners. Yeah. Yeah, fuck Tasmania. Unless you're from there, in which case, thank you so much for tuning in.
Tasmania's our favourite.
Yeah, we love Tasmania. More than Adelaide, that's for sure. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I was going to ask what your biggest piece of advice for someone who's thinking about making that jump to maybe make a side hustle. But I feel like you touched on it earlier. Would you say it's putting in the time and patience to do the research?
Research, yeah.
Yeah.
Do the research before you invest the money.
Yeah.
Because it makes you've almost got to plan it, or think it out in your head. So you go, okay, cool, got this design, it's going to cost me this much to make.
Yeah.
It's going to take me this long to maybe sell or promote, and then double that figure.
Yeah,
Because it's going to take you twice as long to sell or promote it.
Sure.
And then you go, okay, cool, I can potentially make this much money, and then halve it.
Yeah.
And then you go, and then at least if you look at the worst case scenario,
Yeah.
is it still viable?
Yeah.
Like, and also how much time are you going to spend? If you're going to spend 8 hours a day, 5 days a week to make $15,000 a year,
You're killing yourself.
you're going to kill yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might love the
Yeah.
product and you might love it, but then after a year, you're going to go, we can't survive.
Yeah.
So why? So do the research, crunch the numbers, find out how long you have to invest your time into the product. That's the key. How much time do you have to invest into it?
Yeah.
And be fair to yourself. Like, say, what am I worth?
Yeah.
Am I worth $50 an hour or $100 an hour or $150 an hour? Am I going to make that by putting that time in? So your time, how much money are you making for yourself to keep it going? And I don't want to always talk about money, but it's what's going to keep it going. Like if you're not making the money off it, you're just going to burn out. You might cause problems at home, or and it's just you have to give it up, and then that's what makes you sour about it, and you'll never come back to the hobby because you're just like, oh, that was what ruined
Burned you
me.
out the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
You can almost look at it as in if it's almost like overtime at work. If you need to do an hour a night or something like that, you might not necessarily, once you've obviously got it up and running, you may not need to look at how much is that paying me per hour. But if you can easily dedicate yourself that time, then yeah, sure, why not? Obviously it takes a chunk of time to set it all up, But once it's running, if it's only an hour a night or, 5 hours a week or something like that,
Yeah.
maybe it could be viable.
And always work off worst case scenarios.
Yeah.
You never say, oh, I could make this much and I can only spend this much time.
Yeah,
like it's always
yeah.
double the
Like,
time you
I love
expect
that.
and make
Double
it
and
half
half.
and half.
Yeah.
And then if you're still happy with that, go with it.
Yeah.
Like
Just double the money in half the time.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
math works, right?
That's what I've been doing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, literally anything I think of just works.
yeah, just-
Double the money in half the time.
Perfect.
Yeah.
yeah.
What if I buy a model off the shelf and then sell it to someone? Well, if it takes me no time and I double the money,
Yeah.
Profit.
profit.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Thanks again so much for giving us some mats to do some battle reports on.
It's just going to be
I
awesome.
can't wait. It'll be awesome to watch.
Yeah. When we saw this one in particular, I was just like, I feel like I haven't seen something so vibrant, and it just like popped in the images, and it like you can see it on camera. It's a
Yeah.
vibe check for me.
Yeah.
Love it. So we'll throw some of your new Tyranids on there.
Oh, I need to repaint their bases for them.
Yeah, true.
They're brown. Now
Yep.
they're pink and purple.
Yeah, that's sick.
Yep.
And thank you so much for taking the time to watch us play with a million cameras and a million lights. And,
Yeah,
and have
it's
you on
good.
here. It's been fun.
It's always fun.
Yeah.
And please play a game of AOS with Shane, so I don't feel so bad about never playing AOS with Shane.
That can be done.
I've got
On
some
this map.
Stormcast.
On this map.
On this map.
Yeah.
Rebase all your Stormcasts, that'd be dope.
Okay.
And you can fix them up afterwards when you swap to another map.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Cool. Well, bit of a short and sweet one, you reckon?
Oh, I mean, I'm ready to have 3 more beers, but
Yeah,
as far
I mean,
as
we
the
can
episode
cut
goes,
this.
yeah. Absolutely.
Well, awesome. Massive thank you to everyone watching. Of course, our patrons as well. You can check out hobbyhomies.com for links to all the bits and pieces there. As far as Patreon goes, for as little as $2 a month, you can get early access to videos like these, and it helps support us as well. So, yeah, massive thank you to Burnsy, Whack, Final Dinosaur, MJ, Lethal, Moose, Penny, Gridlocks, Battlemaps, Jack, and Test.
And Elko, Churchy, Rad Rooster, Oliver, Hockers, Aggro, Bravo 1-4, RJ Hill, and Big Roach. Thank you. Shane let me down. He was having a swing. You picked
I
up the
timed
slack.
that poorly.
Yeah.
You know what? You're done here. Okay. I got a news co-host.
Take off my,
Thank you all so much. Thank you again, Jack, for stopping by.
Thank
This won't
you.
be the last time you guys see him. He doesn't know that, but he's going to be on many more things. So,
Maybe a beers are better.
yeah, that'd
It
be
really
great.
is.
Awesome.
Cool.
Toodles.
Hooroo.
Woo! Big up to the boys, Fox and Shane. Set your minds free, no locks and chains. Do what you love, roll the dice. 50-50, we cold as ice. One